Roach is the president, founder, and solution architect of TYGR LLC, the company behind ChecklistPRO, a certified ServiceNow Store application that helps organizations trying to get more out of their ServiceNow investment without bleeding their licensing budget. So what I find about Ty's story isn't just the product, it's the trajectory. He spent years on technical side of the industry at places like NIH and Department of Energy, got encouraged by his peers to productize what he knew and built a product-led growth company in a niche that most people wouldn't even think or look at it. So Ty, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ram. It's great to be with you.
So let's start. You built a career as a practitioner, deep in the technical work, like inside organizations, right?
Yeah.
You were doing ServiceNow implementations for federal clients. You had trust of people in the ecosystem. But building a product company is a different ball game altogether, right? So what made you take the step? So basically, what did the transition look like, and what did the first 6 months of the actually running the company feel like compared to what you expected?
Yeah, good question. So I got into the ServiceNow space in 2012, and I did that. I was a consultant for a partner in the ecosystem doing work for U.S. federal customers with their ServiceNow implementation. And you kind of alluded to this, but in my words, the story was after several years, I realized what a lot of people were telling me was true, which is, that I should do this on my own. So I started my own practice, which was great. And for the first time in my life, I was, an entrepreneur, business owner, and immediately, and kind of unforeseen, I originally thought I'll just be an independent consultant. But it kind of very quickly, we started to grow. The customer that we had within the Department of Energy was the end customer, but we were working for a prime contractor there. So we were technically the prime contractor was our customer, but they were using us at this federal customer to do ServiceNow work, and we just started to grow. We started adding our headcount, and so we were starting in professional services. So, but all that while, so this is then in 2017 we started this. The company TYGR was born, and then in 2019 we entered the ServiceNow partner program as a build partner, which is we got an app. And so over the course of all those years, I had seen a number of gaps, what I would call in the platform, and which really translated to opportunities to solve something that we felt was repeatable, but consistently repeatable in a way that we could be productized. And it's something that I had always wanted to do. I have a software development background, and so that's what I love building solutions. That's actually what I fell in love with on the ServiceNow platform. Was right from the beginning, I didn't necessarily think at all that this was just an ITSM solution. I literally saw this back even all the way at the beginning as this is a platform. This is a tool, an application that you can build other applications on, a single pane of glass. And I, from the beginning, was thinking this is going to be an opportunity to build something pretty interesting. And by the time we got there, so in 2019, actually really in 2018, we started to build this product that we call today ChecklistPRO. And it launched. It was our entry point into ServiceNow's partner program. We entered their store in 2019, and it's continued to grow. And so the balance there for us corporately was we still had a team doing professional services work for U.S. federal customers in the ServiceNow space, and then in the meantime, the product started to grow because we didn't just go all in. Oh, we're not doing professional services anymore. So we've been growing completely organically with the funding. Really, the funding from our professional services business helped fund the development of the product, and then now that the product is really kind of taken over, and that's really because it scales so much easier. The product side does, and from my perspective, you don't have to. And that's much a happier space for me, working with other partners, to help, get our product in with their customers. So we're kind of leveraging like the whole ecosystem, and we can remain small with focused with products and features and direction. And while our partners that support the customers are sort of like our boots on the ground. Now, and that's why also I formed a second company, which is called ChecklistPRO LLC, which is really just geared towards support, training, professional build for our application for end customers or for our partners or both. And that's, again, we can still be very small and do that. Whereas TYGR, was the build partner, but it does all kinds of other ServiceNow professional services. The other one is very focused on ChecklistPRO related things on the ServiceNow platform.
Got it. Yeah. I see the lean part of your company. We'll come to that. You're running the company with a very small team. So that's very fascinating for me. We'll come to that. But basically, today's episode is called the revenue layer, and I chose that theme partly because what ChecklistPRO represents. To me, it looks like it's not a feature; it's a financial argument. The whole premise is you don't have to spend money on licenses you don't need, right? But so many organizations do that, converting non-fulfillers to fulfillers and spinning up business stakeholder license for people who rarely approve. So how did you arrive at this positioning of ChecklistPRO around cost avoidance?
That was the easy part because, to be honest with you, the original ChecklistPRO, and still in my mind, what ChecklistPRO is you can put a checklist on any record in ServiceNow, and you're essentially augmenting the data of the tables and the forms that ServiceNow gives you and presents to you without actually really customizing them. So your upgrades go easier. But what happened was we built our own records and I could clearly see a pain point in the industry. I mean, we saw this many times working with customers that customers are doing exactly as you said. ServiceNow is, in my opinion, the workflow engine of the world. Okay, it's the preeminent one. And most customers are using it for this ability to digitize workflows. And so very typically in the most basic form, you're getting some approvals, you're completing some work, you're probably doing some automation, and many, many different groups of people get involved in doing this. And so there are records that need to get updated in ServiceNow, and you need certain privileges to do that, like the ITIL, for instance. The problem is, and this is what we assessed, the problem is many of these people that do work in the workflows, they don't do work with other ITIL type, what ITIL, the role in ServiceNow gives you, like root cause analysis of incidents, running other ITSM applications, updating your CMDB records. A lot of these folks that are getting swept into this ITIL role have way more privileges than they actually really need in reality and what they're actually doing. They just need to complete a little bit of work and a couple assignments in their workflow. And so it was like an all or nothing. And we're giving them this middle ground. So we have our checklist approval and we have a checklist assignment that anybody, a non-rolled user in ServiceNow, can get some work and do some work with our checklist on top of our record. This sort of give it like, what is it that this record represents? Like what's going on? And that record can link to other records in ServiceNow with, give you the ability to see what it is that you're actually doing in relationship to something else in ServiceNow. And that really took off. And everybody gets that. I mean, it's the checklist on any record and lowering the bar of the skill level required to do essentially development type activities like, hey, I'm putting new fields on something. And, but people, that's great. And people like that. But people really get the dollar and cents, like, hey, this is going to save us a lot of money. And it's a better use of our resources. And it's less of a risk because we're not overprivileging users. The risk teams, cyber risk, the InfoSec teams, they love this because why do we want to overprivilege our users on this platform? You don't with ChecklistPRO. You don't have to.
Right. That also makes them a little bit nervous to have more privileges than they're actually using.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big problem. And like I said, your InfoSec teams and all that, and that sort of those groups, risk teams are very, appreciate that. But financial teams, everybody appreciates, like, wow, we can actually save some money on this too, and that's a big win. And then the development time, the time it takes to do things. When you have a non-development team that really knows this activity that they're working on, has all the ability to control, here's the steps that we want, here's the things that we need for this activity and a workflow, and we don't need to have roles in ServiceNow to do it, and it's on us. We can do this. We're not beholden to the development team to say if we want to tweak this, because dev cycles are kind of precious in the ServiceNow. And not only that, you build your checklist. If you can build a bulleted bulleted list, you can build a checklist. If you go into Word, build a bulleted list, copy that if you want into our checklist editor. It becomes our checklist, and you're in control. And it works across all the ServiceNow UI stacks. So like you have the classic forms, you have Employee Center, different technology. You have Workspace UIs, which is the latest version, very nice UI. We handle all the heavy lifting of the differences that each of those UIs represent. We just take care of that for you.
Awesome. Yeah, shifting the gears, I just want to get back to the philosophy of your company, that what I have seen. So you described TYGR as a product-led growth company from the start.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's a structural decision. You have a 4-person lean team. You have published 20 plus free pre-built solutions on GitHub.
Yeah.
And your model is flat and transparent. So most founders at this stage feel pressure to hire toward growth, right? But you seem to have resisted that. So is that a philosophical stance you have always held, or is there a moment where the math will change and you would say it's time to add a 5th seat?
So what we are growing, I'll tell you where we are growing as a company is we're a development company. I'm a developer. We have developers on our team, so we're builders, and that's what we do. So that's the lean part. Now, what we've lacked, if I'm being honest, what we've lacked over the years is sales, marketing, that whole aspect, because we're not that. So we are growing there. We are adding, staff to help us get our messaging out. It's great. This is great to be part of your show here and to reach your audience and share our story. So we're grateful for that. But this is all important, and we have the new parts of our team are in, marketing, for instance, that are going to help with go-to-market strategy, things that I'm really less familiar with. We're builders. We build stuff, and so we're going to stay small. The other thing I think that's important that has started happening and is really, really working well for us, and I think it's mutually working well for our partners, is our partner program. We are teaming with ServiceNow consulting and implementation partners. Why? Because their business is to put boots on the ground, assist customers that have ServiceNow, and they have their trust. They're there, and they're trusted advisors. What's the value for ChecklistPRO for these people? They already have the work, but they can also be even better steward of the ServiceNow licensing, for instance. Your capital expenditures, lowering the risk, reducing the time it takes to deliver, simplifying the skill level that is required to do work, making the customer sort of self-sufficient, and it's a good path for these guys. And we are really an X factor, and this has become clear to me over the past 2 years with our partners. They're doing the customer facing work. They have that trust of the customer. They're bringing, our product is built for purpose and can solve problems and challenges that the customers want to address, and they don't have to build it themselves. They can team with us. We provide that product wise, and they do professional builds with our product on top of the platform. So we're leveraging these other organizations and their skill base and their relationships with customers so we can remain very small as a company ourselves. Are we leaving money on the table? Absolutely. I know this, but it's there for everybody to have, right? It's there for, that's what the consulting and implementation partners do. Let's take advantage of this. It's helping us scale. It's why, in my opinion, we've now ascended after 7 years on the ServiceNow Store. We're now on page 1. We're the -- 4 app by rating in the store. And that's in large part because we've done these things, partner programs, and letting them take professional services dollars, training dollars, and we're sort of their support. So that's how it's really worked for us, and we're just going to continue that until something becomes obvious that we need to change. But right now, that looks like a really great model for us.
Yeah, that's a tried and tested model. So a lot of companies do that. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So next question is, you have spent over a decade building credibility with your US federal clients, right?
Yes.
Department of Energy, WAPA. That's a very specific security intensive trust environment.
Yeah.
Compliance matters, procurement cycles are long, and there's zero tolerance culture around getting it wrong.
Right.
So what's the thing about the market that has shaped you build the product that a commercial only founder might not think about? I will say this as a solution architect myself. I'm genuinely curious whether the discipline of federal requirements made the ChecklistPRO better than it might have been otherwise.
I definitely, so to start with that last point, I think yes. So, and you are right, everything that you said, you're absolutely right. Certainly with our energy customers that are in the Department of Energy, so you're federal and then you're in the energy sector. So energy is what they would call critical infrastructure. Okay, if you don't have an energy grid and it's insecure, because foreign adversaries are all the time trying to hack it. And so the rigor and the controls around protection of that is critical. And every app and every platform that goes into supporting that, we've kind of gone through a lot of intensive oversight, and that's really kind of galvanized our product from a security perspective. Very hardened for that. And it was that way from the beginning, because our initial customers were, the way it started initially is because I was doing professional services within the Department of Energy. We would go from one program to another, started at headquarters, then we went to Western Area Power, then we went to one of the national labs. We started to grow, right? Why? Because I was there and it would follow me around. But that's not a too scalable thing. I can't keep going around myself. Or even the people that were working for me on various projects there. That's when the partner program started to kick in, and that's really what catapulted us out into the commercial space. Now, I'll just say, we also happen to have not a lot, but we have foreign governments as well. And we're across a number of different industries. But yes, the oversight and regulatory needs of federal customers, and in particular the energy sector, really drove some of the foundational capabilities that we have built into the product. And so that's just served us well. We're now, we're not just serving energy customers. We are a platform tool. If you have ServiceNow, we believe that this is a tool, ChecklistPRO, that you should really consider having, because it's a hedge against skyrocketing costs on the platform. ServiceNow can be expensive, and this can help you get more control over your costs. And customers see this. We're seeing this all the time. They totally get the cost savings, and they actually like to kick the tires on it to see. And by the way, we let you do that. We say, have access to our application. We'll let you do a free 30-day trial. Have a use case in mind. Let's make sure it's meeting your expectations. And so, because we don't want to just like, we got another sale. And no, it's got to be the right fit for the customer, for the partner. And yeah, that's really, and that's really been done well for us. That federal experience is been extremely valuable for us as a company.
That's very good to know. So moving on to the buzzword today, AI. You shipped your first AI feature, text to checklist with AI Assist, right? Earlier this year, I guess. And you integrated with it as a AI in a box, a private AI solution, rather than going straight to ServiceNow's own Now Assist,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And your GitHub README says, a Now Assist integration is coming soon.
Yeah.
Can you please walk me through the thinking, like, what does the Now Assist integration unlock for your clients versus what's going on right now?
Yeah. So the reason for so our third party partner, AI in the Box, happens to be another product company. But we felt like there's some great synergy here, and the value is a lot of times. So we bring value in terms of let you do things pretty cheaper on the ServiceNow platform. AI in the Box was the same way. It was an AI solution that was just very focused, maybe a little bit limited in scope and what you would do on the ServiceNow, or what you could do with it on the ServiceNow platform. But it was just enough functionality that what the cost was like a no-brainer. Like, just we feel the same way about our product. And so we talked and we said, I have an idea for we'd like to use your AI product to just start sort of generative AI. I want to ask a question, text to checklist. I want to say, hey, you come back with a checklist. We ask you, hey, I need an email troubleshooting checklist, or I need a checklist for this GRC control, something like that. You name it. And it would come back with, we prompted it. So a little prompt engineering there and some context engineering to say, here's how we want the format that you return to us. It give us markdown format, which is easy to parse. And then we would translate that into our internal format, and there we went. The next step after that was to say, obviously, let's do this again with Now Assist. And we had got with another partner that really has specialized, our partner Citrus Flows. We did this collaboration with them recently, and we explained to them how ChecklistPRO works. They are Now Assist experts on the platform, and so we did this collaboration. Now we have, with our partner Citrus Flows, a Now Assist integration for generating a checklist. And it's wonderful. The next step for us, this is like, okay, my safe harbor, if I had a safe harbor slide, I'd put it up. But I think where we are now, and what we saw at the Knowledge show, ServiceNow's latest show, it's agentic, right? It's do some, work in the workflows. And this is actually a perfect next step for us too. This is where we're moving next is, well, we have these checklists that a lot of times people are doing the work. Hey, we did this, we did that. Why don't we build some skills, and why don't we build an agent to let the AI try to complete the checklist? And then, where the human in the loop is to say, did they do it right? Do I do, that before you say, yes, this is good to go, let them oversee it. So it's really just an AI assist for your checklist completion. And I really getting excited about this idea because I think I really think we could position ChecklistPRO as sort of the AI for workflow, launching of agentic workflow completion activities. That's a lot for us to kind of dive into, but this is the next step for us as a company with regard to features. And we're going to be exploring that with some of our partners, and we hope to have that unveiled in the future here.
Sure. Yeah, that kind of provides a good segue to the next question. The delegated developer solution, that one of the pre-built solutions that you have, enabling someone with business knowledge but no ServiceNow skills to build workflows. I think this is where what you just mentioned helps a lot, if I understand correctly. And that concept is essentially what the no-code AI movement is promising right now at a broader level, right?
Yes.
You built this solution way before that wave.
I did.
Yeah. So what does it look like on the ground right now? So how are your customers seeing that in practice?
If I'm being honest, it has really moved. You're right about this. The AI, the advancements in agentic AI, and build an app soup to nuts from has in the last, I would say, even 6 months, has come so far. That what you can do with natural language prompting to build something. What we had done with our delegated developer, we're going to have to relook at this. We're going to have to see, is there a way that we, if I'm just being honest, this was our delegated developer was like something to say, hey, here's another free solution that we offer that requires ChecklistPRO. But if you have ChecklistPRO, you can start to tap into areas within your organization that do not necessarily have ServiceNow skill. Maybe you don't even have some of the more costly ServiceNow applications that will do app development for you. Maybe you just don't have those SKUs and you just can't afford them to do this. This was like a very simple, structured way that says, hey, listen, the way to bring this into the catalog item with a workflow, offer it as a service, but your people have domain knowledge, and it could be anything. I'm just thinking one of our customers did recently, which was add a data store. So you've got an infrastructure support team that has a lot of domain knowledge about what it takes to say, create a firewall or add a data store or you name it, right? They know here's the kind of questions that we would ask a catalog item for input. And we just said, yeah, we represent that as checklist. And we use catalog builder. So it uses catalog builder and it has a template and it just says, okay, instead of variables, you'll use our checklist. And then you'll build your the things that you need for input as a checklist items. And then it gets passed to a workflow where you have some very simple control logic that just says, hey, do you need an approval for this? Who's the group? And then after that, does it need to go to some other group for completion? And then that completion step would have another checklist that says, what are the steps that you want done? I contend that almost every workflow, you could have this checklist, every activity in a workflow, because why? Normally out of the box with ServiceNow, you get a workflow activity and it has a description. It has a short description, it has a detailed description. That's just a block of text. If you used our ChecklistPRO, you could get out of that block of text away from a development team to a no-code developer that would say, here are my steps. Your process owner says, here are my steps. If I do this one, then these other things apply. If I do this third thing, here's what else I need to show. Build it as a checklist. Think bulleted list, and simple conditions. No code, works across all the UIs. But that's what we have with our delegated developer. It's taking advantage of that. And so it's checklists coming in with, here's the information you need, like about, let's just say your data store. How much RAM do you need? What's the host that it's going to run on? Is it virtual? Whatever your questions are. The infrastructure team that doesn't necessarily have ServiceNow knowledge, and oh, by the way, you don't want to just give them admin or developer roles in the non-prod environment to build this. You want to keep it nice and simple for them. You don't want these guys and gals, to be updating script includes or business rules. We take care of all that. You just build your checklist for input and for work completion. It really keeps it nice and contained. And we just thought that's valuable. That's a nice. We admit that it's like that solution is more for your crawl, walk, run evolution into citizen developer. You may want to graduate to some of ServiceNow's applications, but before you pay full price for I'm blanking on the name of what ServiceNow calls their their app developer SKU, but App Engine Studio, App Engine. You may not want to pay for App Engine because you're not ready for it. So let's just use ChecklistPRO, our delegated developer, to get it started. Now, back to your last point, which was like, well, the AI, the way things have changed. Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. Like, we could use the AI to generate these checklists on, hey, for the input and for the output, but hey, people can build whole applications as well. So sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes it's like, okay, that particular application, that may just be like, well, remember when we did that? That was that filled a need for a period of time, but now people are using Claude code and it's just generating apps directly. No problem. We're just here to give. Maybe you're not using Claude code. Maybe you are afraid of doing that. There are people out there, right? They haven't started their AI journey, and so we're still even you have ServiceNow too, and you want to take advantage of, you got a limited dev staff and you want to have all this domain knowledge. So we're always going to rapidly build solutions that are available through our tool for you to take advantage of instantly.
Right. That you have already answered part of my next question. So, so basically, this is inevitable in this AI world right now, right? So your customers are mostly ServiceNow shops, large IT firms, federal agencies, ops-heavy organizations. So where are you seeing AI show up as a real pressure point for your customers? I know you spoke a few of the challenges already, but what are you actually facing from their side? And follow up to that is, how is that changing what you are building?
Yeah, I think it is. You're right. The last question, did we touch into this? The AI is lowering the bar for coding. I think initially we heard a lot about, hey, let's summarize things and let's do, and it's great at that. It's absolutely amazing at that. And you can, do knowledge-based, content generation with the tool. It's awesome for that. Now you're getting to this ability for people to just prompt and build the entire application. And so that's starting to happen. And I think it's only going to get better, right? It's just going to the context is going to get better. And it's just, if the AI is getting smarter and smarter and doing more for lesser skilled people, maybe necessarily not even developers, but they're and that's happening. We're seeing that, now. This is where for us, I had mentioned sort of, mid-show here, I talked about, what's next for us with our checklist. And I really think that our checklist could be that interface for build a checklist. And this checklist says, here's the list of things that you would like the AI to go off and do. So that checklist completion, you could think of, I'm thinking, it's a little forward looking, but it's thinking of these items could be like the agents to do, each checklist item could be, hey, it's an agent to go do some work somewhere. I'm interested in exploring it. So those are sort of the, it's happening so fast. That's just what's coming at me, especially right after the ServiceNow user conference, Knowledge 26 last week in Las Vegas. These are thoughts fresh in my mind. I think there's a huge opportunity because you still have people they haven't even started their AI journey. Then there's others that are off and running, and there's this gap, growing. And I think we can help bridge that gap. I think we're in a good spot to help in this case.
Great. So that brings us to our last question. Again, the way you are answering, it's looked like you already know all the questions here. So,
I don't. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. If I asked you to describe what TYGR looks like in 3 years, not the features, not the revenue number, but the role company plays in the ServiceNow ecosystem, what does that look like? So where does ChecklistPRO sit in the conversation that organizations are having about AI, automation, workflow intelligence, all the stuff?
I think we're in the AI automation business, just as I said. I think also that, I think, our goal is for wider recognition of we're here. We have a proven application that's been around for 7 years. It's running in some critical infrastructure. It's worldwide, regions, Asia Pacific, Europe, US. We want to get the other, areas of the world covered too. We want to build out our partner program. I imagine, we're always going to add, I think, we're going to add more, continue to add features, listen to the feedback from customers and partners, and continue to, I just think that we're going to become much more of a household name. I think that you're going to know ChecklistPRO. You know, we could be, we entered, you know, what's starting to happen also now, Ram, is that, you know, we're starting to get inquiries, not just for the product, but for the company. Like, they're looking at us in the SaaS space. Some boutiques are saying, this is interesting, you know.
Right.
I'm not quite, you know, we're always open to talk, but I feel like we have a lot more install bases to go get before we're really ready. Now, this is the whole thing, getting acquired that can help you, you know, your distribution greatly, and I recognize that. And so that's why we are definitely open to talks. So in 3 years, we could be, you know, bought by a larger, you know, company. Could even be ServiceNow. We could become a premium application within ServiceNow for all I know. But I think that, you know, somewhere down the road, that is probably the end game for us, is when it is to be assumed or acquired into a larger organization or into the platform itself.
Awesome. So yeah, that sounds very exciting, and wishing you the best in that sense. So yeah, I think we have come to the end of this show, and this has been an incredibly valuable. The way you think about the intersection of product design, cost stewardship, and genuine customer outcomes, it's kind of clarity we often don't see in a single conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you for being so open and thoughtful.
You know, like I said, thank you for having me. Keep an eye on us. We're in the ServiceNow Store. ChecklistPROapp.com is our website. ChecklistPROapp.com. You get a free trial there. Partners, consulting and implementation partners for ServiceNow. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to, you know, we believe, like I had said, that we are really an X factor, something that can give you an edge to win new business with your customers. And customers themselves come to us. We can refer you to some of our partners, or it's easy enough that you know, if you have the staff on hand, you can do the work, and we will be happy to train you, get you up and running, and let you be more cost effective, free of risk, and faster to produce solutions with low code and lesser skilled people. So thank you very much, Ram, for the opportunity to talk with your team, with your audience.
Thank you, Ty, for being here.